Stitch Cutie, I'm Brittany with Stitches of Love Quilting, and welcome to the video tutorial for your 6th block of your gnome quilt. And the blocks that we're going to be making in this 6th box are blocks 11, 21, and 24. So we're going to make 2 trees and then this one house, which is going to be a lot of fun. So let's first start by going over everything you need to have to be ready to do your project. So of course you have your fabric from your kit. We're going to cut that in just a moment. We have all our prefused laser cut applique pieces. I've gone on and removed the backing from all of them. So I'm just going to set this aside for a minute. Now we're going to talk about the thread colors. These are so pretty. So these are all Sulky 40 weight rayons, and the thread colors that you need for your 2 trees, which are blocks 11 and 24. We have the white 1001. We have the butterfly gold 0567. This really pretty deep avocado green, it's 1176. Then we have brown, which is 1130. And then for the block 21, which is that really fun little blue gnome house, we need to have this beautiful blue, which is 1293. Then we have Christmas red, 1147. And last but not least, avocado that we use all the time, and that is 1177. So the setup that I have in front of my embroidery machine, of course I have my 8x12 hoop. I've got it loaded with a medium tearaway stabilizer, and I'm going to use that for all 3 of the blocks that we're making. I have my Steady Betty so I can easily iron with my Steam Fast travel iron. I love this little guy for ironing in the hoop. Then I have my favorite scissors, my Karen K Buckleys. I have my favorite tape, which is the 3M transport tape. You can just order this online like Amazon or somewhere, and you get a pack of like 6 rolls or something. Then in front of me, I have my fusing mat, which I really won't need the fusing mat for doing the embroidery, but I always keep my little setup together. I have my cutting mat, I have my applique glass, and then I have my light pad. So the first thing that we're gonna do, we're actually gonna iron our fabric, and I'm just gonna do that in the video and show you how to cut your fabric. So I'm just gonna give it a press. You'll wanna lightly starch. Doot, doot, doot. And then I'm just gonna give it a nice press in half all the way down. Doot, 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 doot. A little bit more. And a little more starch. And I like to just use the same amount of starch every time. So I try to stay consistent with how much starch I'm using. Just so it's like easy, you know, when you go to piece all your things together, you have an even amount of starch across the board. So you can go in and iron the back side as well. You know, I have it folded in half, but I'm gonna do it a little quick for the video. So now I need my cutting mat. So I'm just gonna move part of my little pile right behind me, and here is my cutting mat. I love having this just ready to go. So for the pattern we need, let's just double check what sizes we're cutting. It's already 14 inches in width, so it's folded in half. And we need 1 at 10 and 2 at 6. Easy peasy. Just gonna line it up. And this is gonna be trimmed down, so you don't need to be like crazy exact with this, because you're gonna trim about 1 inch or so off all the way around. And you need your rotary cutter. Oh no, where'd mine go? Sorry for that pause. I had it on the other table. Okay, so we're gonna do our 10 right here. See, how cool is this? I don't have to go to another area. I have it right here where I need it. And now I just need 2 6s. So just gonna line this up. You can see I have more than I need. I'm just gonna whack it right here in half. So I actually have a little bit bigger than 6 for both of them, but that's no big deal. There we go. Okay, so the first one that we're doing is our tree. I'm just gonna put my ruler back over here. So I'm just gonna have one of the 6-inch pieces. Get my Steady Betty back over here. All right, and now we're going to load our white thread. And we're gonna start with the first step, which is gonna be a T right in the center of our hoop. And when we come back, we'll put our fabric in place. Okay, so on your hoop, let me get it off and show you, you have a T right in the center, right? So this is where we're gonna load our fabric. So we're gonna take the piece of fabric, we're gonna fold it right sides together. So I'm gonna go right up to the selvage. I don't wanna include the selvage in part of what I'm folding. So see, just going right up to it, give it a little press in half, and then fold it one more time. Again, we put right sides together, and then There we go. So now what we're gonna do, take our hoop, put it in front of us. I turn mine sideways just so it stays on my Steady Betty nicely. So I have folded edge, line it up right here with that T, unfold it one time, and then unfold it one more time. If you want to give it a little bit of a press, just to get that like T ironed out. There we go. Now we're going to tape it in place. So you have your fabric right side up. And we're just going to give a little bit of tape on the four corners. There we go. So again, we're going to continue with that white thread on our machine for a couple more steps. We're going to put this on, and the machine is going to give us the outline for the tree trunk and the tree. So we'll be back to iron that on. Okay, so now you have the two pieces outlined. So again, I'm gonna put my hoop in front of me. Now you'll take the little tree trunk. We're gonna iron that down first. You wanna make sure you put this piece first, otherwise the tree trunk will grow out of the tree instead of vice versa. That'd be funny looking. So give that a little press. And now for this really fun polka dotted tree, this is a Clover Swiss from Riley Blake. It's a super, super cute fabric. You might recognize it from, I think it's box 3. Remember the gnome with the kite? He featured this fabric as well, or she. I can't remember if that one's a boy or a girl. There we go. And then just make sure it stays in place all the way. You can see I kind of start with the branches at the bottom and work my way up. So now that's ironed in place. Again, keep the white thread on your machine. And now you're gonna have an outline of 2 flowers stitched for you. Okay, and now we have the outline of 2 flowers, and there's a fun trick with the flowers. So what I'm gonna do, you'll notice in your kit you had 4 white flowers. So what I'm gonna do is iron 1 down in each spot. And you'll remember this from some of the past months. We have a fun little trick. So if you see, you can still see the tree through this, right? A little bit because it's the white. But here's the trick. The reason you have those 2 extra is you're gonna iron a second one exactly on top of that original one. And then you have a double lined applique piece. And that covers the background from coming through, right? So now you don't see that tree as vividly through the fabric. Isn't that fun? Cool little trick. And you can do that on anything, and it works just awesomely well. So now we're gonna put this back on, still with the white thread, and what we're gonna have stitched now is a little circle inside of each of the flowers. And so now those 2 circles are outlined for us, and so we're just gonna simply take the 2 little flower centers. Oh my goodness, look how cute they are. I love it. This kind of makes me think of a magnolia tree, a little bit. I know it's not really a magnolia flower per se, but that's what it makes me think of. Big, white, pretty magnolias. We're here in Tallahassee, Florida. We have a ton of magnolia trees. And I have one in my backyard that just was blooming so beautifully earlier this year. Okay, so take a look. Everything's ironed on. So we're gonna now start the process of stitching everything, which is gonna be a lot of fun to watch it come to life. So we're gonna keep that white thread on for just one last step. And the machine is gonna do a buttonhole stitch around the outer edge of both white flowers. Okay, take a look at how cute those little flowers are. And they just have the white stitching. That's all so far. Okay, so for the next few steps, I'm gonna take my hoop on and off the arm of my machine so that I can bring it into view of the camera for you. You, however, for the next few steps, don't need to take your hoop on and off. You can just leave it on there and change your colors as you go. So, speaking of changing colors, we're now going to put on the butterfly gold 0567, and the machine is gonna quickly do a little buttonhole stitch around both flower centers. Okay, take a look at your flowers now. They're fully stitched. So now we just need to stitch the tree. So we're going to load the 1176, which I believe is called medium avocado or deep avocado, and the tree is going to be outlined with a buttonhole stitch all the way around. Okay, take a look at your tree now. All the green is stitched. It's looking so good. Now it's time to put the brown on, which is 1130, and the machine will do a buttonhole stitch nicely around the tree trunk for you. Okay, let's take a look at this tree completed. I'll do a close-up of the stitching for you. Look at that perfection. Doesn't that make you so happy? It's just such a cute tree. Okay, so now that this little guy's done, we're gonna take it out of the hoop. We're gonna set it aside. What we're gonna do now is grab another piece of your stabilizer. We're gonna re-hoop, and now we're gonna load the file for block 24, which as I call it, it's a naked tree. That's what we're gonna stitch next. So what you'll do is load the white thread in your machine and prompt for the first step of that block 24. So you can see your machine just like it did for the first tree. It's now gonna do another T in your hoop for you, right? So we need to prep our fabric to put in the hoop. So I have my fabric right side up. I'm gonna fold it in half, wrong sides together. Just fold up to the selvage. And give that a press. Again, that's wrong side or right sides together. And then we're going to do one more press in half. And this doesn't have to be crazy exact because remember, if you remember from the past ones, we're gonna trim it all down at the end and you have more than enough. So I'm gonna take my hoop, put it down in front of me. Again, I put it on my Steady Betty so it's got a nice smooth surface underneath it. Folded edge, line it up with the T and open it up one way and then one more time. And again, now you have your fabric right side up facing you. Give it a little press to get rid of that T in the middle. And just like before, a little bit of tape. So just a little here, and a little here, and a little bit there, and one last piece. So we're gonna keep the white thread on for just one more step, and the machine is gonna give us the outline of the tree trunk and the tree. So we'll be back to iron those in place. So now your machine has stitched the outline for both pieces. We're going to just sit this right in front. And the first thing we do is iron on the tree trunk. Just like so. Give it a press. And now we'll put on the tree. And just like before, make sure you have it lined up on all your tree branches. There we go. And just work your way up with your iron. There we go. Perfect. Now it's time for a color change of our thread. We are now going to load the 1176 and the machine is going to do a beautiful buttonhole stitch around the entire green tree. All right, check out your tree. Look at that. So cute. Okay, now we're gonna do a color change to the brown. This is the final step of the tree already. And it's 11:30 we're gonna load and you'll have a nice little tree trunk stitched. And just like that, you have an entire block stitched. Wasn't that fast? So let's do a little close up for you. Hello tree. Hello tree trunk. So cute. Even a naked tree, as I call them, they're still cute too because I love that little dotted fabric. Okay, so now it's time to build a house together. So we're gonna reload our hoop, we're gonna load a white thread in our machine, and we're gonna prompt for the first step of block 21, which is that blue house. Okay, so that very first step stitched now. So you have a T in the center of your hoop, just like you do for the trees, except this is a longer and wider T. So what we're gonna do is prep our fabric. We are going to put it right side up, give it a press. There we go. And then just like before, we're gonna fold right sides together up to the selvage. And then we're gonna do one more little press this way. There we go. And again, it doesn't have to be exact because it's all gonna get trimmed down. Okay, so now put your hoop in front of you. Again, I turn it sideways so it stays on my Steady Betty and it looks good on the camera. And now we have a fold here, line it up with that T, open it up once, and then we're gonna open it up again. Look at that, covers my whole hoop. Give it a press everywhere. There we go. And I'm gonna do just a smidge of tape. Oop. So just a little, just to hold it in place. And then we're gonna keep the white thread on our machine for a few steps. And the machine is gonna give us some applique outlines. The first one being the big blue part of the actual house. So load this up and go on to the next step. All right, so in your hoop, you have one really big outline. And that is for this really big piece of blue. And we're gonna line it right up. So just start at one end, start working it till you get it lined up everywhere. There we go. Doo-doo-doo. There's a lot to line up because he's a big piece, so just make sure you've got it where you want it up here, down there. All right, so I'm just gonna hold my hand in place, start at one side, and work my way over. There we go. Whoop, whoop. All right, so now let me just make sure I've pressed everywhere. Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. All right, look at that. We're halfway done because that one piece. Not really. Okay, so we're gonna leave the white thread on again for another step. Now we're gonna have an outline for the red door and an outline for the blue flower petal that sits atop the house. Okay, take a look. We have two outlines. So let's get those pieces ironed in place. First, we have the big blue flower petals. And I wish I could remember the name of this blue because it's just so pretty, isn't it? I really love it. And just make sure your petals are lined up everywhere. And what I'm gonna do is just go petal by petal. Boop. Boop, boop, boop. And right here. And there. All right. Then we'll go across, get the top ironed on. How fun is that? And now our big red door. So I have a red door on my house and I think it's very welcoming. That's the first thing we did when we bought our house. Well, other than destroy the kitchen and knock it out. When we bought our house, we had to redo the kitchen. Before I even got to the house after we closed on it, Steven had already started with the sledgehammer. I was like, oh my God. But one of the real first things we did was paint the door red, which was fun. Okay, so take a look now. This is what we have. It's starting to look like a house. So now we're gonna put this back on, still with our white thread, and the machine is actually gonna give us the outline for all the remaining pieces. Okay, so take a look. We have the piece at the very top outlined, and then we have a bunch of pieces outlined for our door. So on this step, it's gonna be really important that you iron the pieces in a certain order because we do have some areas of over and underlap, right? So let's just start at the beginning. We are gonna start with our yellow piece right here that lines up with that middle circle. There we go. Then you're gonna take the outer blue circle and get that in place. There we go. Boop, boop, boop. So cute. Now let's do our doorknob because you can't get in the house without a doorknob. So cute. Little gnome doorknob. Okay, and now we're gonna put the two side pieces or the frame of the door. So just make sure you have the right frame on the right side. And get this little guy lined up. Give it a press. And let's get the other door frame right in place here. Doot, doot, doot. All right, and give it a little tap in place. There we go. Now we can put the little awning on our door. Now, how cute is that? Wouldn't that be fun to have a little checked awning on your house? That'd be fun. Well, I guess it depends on what style house. It looks really good on gnome houses, right? Okay, there we go. And we cut this on a 45-degree angle so you get that really cute pattern with the checks. And now it's time for the last piece, the little stem of our flower petal roof. It's like a little flowers upside down, keeping the gnome dry inside. What a fun little gnome forest this is. I just love it. Okay, so now we have all of our pieces ironed on. So you've built a house. Now it's time to stitch it. So we're gonna have 3 color changes. Again, for the next 3 steps, I'm gonna take my hoop on and off. You don't need to, you're just gonna do the thread changes. So the first up color is this beautiful blue. Isn't that so pretty? 1293, we're gonna load that. The machine is going to go around the left side of the building in the left frame, then it's gonna do the right frame, the flower petal, and then of course the blue around the window and the doorknob. OMG, can we have a second to talk about how cute this house is? Look at that little flower petal that came to life. And if you'll notice in the machine, I did a cool thing where it like, you know, did a little straight stitch up and then it came back down with the buttonhole and then the same thing up here. And so if you'll notice, you know, this is all one piece, but we do that buttonhole stitch and do those accent lines and it makes it look like these are layered flower petals. Isn't that fun? All right, it's so cute. I've also decided while it was stitching, you know, this house ultimately ends up next to the schoolgirl in the red outfit with the ruler, the school gnome. And I've decided that this is her house and she's up late studying because she's, you know, ready for school and she's reading a book. I just love that because the lights on at night. That's what I've decided. Makes me sound a little crazy, but you know, it's fun to imagine what the little gnomes would do. So with that being said, it's time to change our thread color. So we're gonna put on the 1147, the Christmas red, and the machine is going to stitch the little red across the bottom and it's going to do the red roof for us. Okay, take a look, your little red roof and your red door, they're stitched now. So this little bitty guy up here at the top, that's all we have left to do. So we're gonna load 1177, that avocado green, and the machine is gonna do a cute little buttonhole stitch across that remaining piece. Ta-da! Your house is done. Let's go close up and look. Isn't that just the cutest little thing? I love it. Okay, so now you know the drill. Time to take it out of the hoop and let's trim our blocks. So you know the drill because this is our 6th block already, our 6th box, I should say. So what I'm gonna do, peel my backing, my stabilizer, I should say, all the way around. All the way. All right, almost done. I love it, tears away so nicely. All right, and none of the T is exposed, but in your quilt, if you know you're taking out the inside of this, just be careful when you're cutting that little thread of the T that you don't cut your piece or your fabric, right? So now, to trim, I'm gonna reveal my glass and my cutting mat. Now I think this is the first gnome tutorial where I have my glass and my cutting mat like this and it makes me so happy. So I turn it on to my brightest. I'm gonna get my placement guide out and I like to trace my trim line, which is the outer line on your pattern. I like to trace that. You can do it by measuring. You can say like, oh, that's however many inches here. You know, you can center your piece and then cut it. So you can do the trimming method however you like. I like to do it this way because I just feel more confident doing it this way. And it's all about making sure you're having fun. So you pick the way that you like. And look at that. I have a couple pieces of my tape left. I'm just gonna let it tape to itself. So now I'm just gonna get my friction pin. Boop. And my ruler, and what I'm gonna do is line up my ruler lines so that I make sure I'm nice and straight. See that? I'm lined up on the outer line right here. So just give a little trace. Now come down here, do the same thing. Boop. Make sure your line is good and straight. Right there. Whoop. There we go. You want to be accurate so that your block is accurate. There we go. Now we'll do the edges. My ruler could be a little longer. And then just to make sure if your line's straight here and you're straight across the edge, you'll be good. Ooh, just want to be really accurate. Yeah, looks good. And then just readjust to finish that line out. There we go. Boop. There we go. And we have one more line. So you're going to do this on all 3 of your blocks. I'm just going to show you this block in this tutorial because you'll do the exact same method of your choice for your other 2 tree blocks as well. So this trims to 8.5 wide and your trees trim to, I believe it's 4.5 inches wide. Read your pattern. I might be saying the wrong number. So check your pattern. Whoop. There we go. Look at that. So now let me tell you what I love about my new little setup with the glass and the mat. So I don't need that anymore. And this is ready to go back in my little gnome binder. So on top of my tempered glass, look at this, y'all. I have a cutting mat that's the exact same size. I love it. Look at that. And it sticks, it's like a little tacky on the bottom so it doesn't wiggle around. Oh my gosh. I'm just digging this whole setup so much. All right, and now put the ruler back in place, nice and lined up. And grab my rotary cutter. Boom. See all that extra fabric we had? So if you didn't have it perfectly folded in fours, don't worry, you have plenty to trim off to have your perfect block. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see it trimmed because the block really does come to life when it's trimmed. I know I say that every month, but it's true. I can't help it. That's what happens. There we go. And then the sides. There we go. And let me just pull my block down, finish this little line out. Oh, look, I need to replace my rotary blade. I will tell you, replacing your rotary blade makes a huge difference. And this little guy, as soon as I'm done with this tutorial, he's gonna go up to Mom's office and I'm gonna say, Mom, help, because I'm never gonna be too old to have my mom change my rotary blade for me. It's true, I can't lie. I love to have my mom do that for me because it just scares me to do it. And she makes it look so easy. All right, there you go. I'm just gonna give it 2 cuts because I know my blade is dull. All right, and then one more cut. And let's reveal this perfect block. Are you ready to see it? Oh my goodness, I might have to trim my trees now to see it. Look at that little house. Okay, let's trim a tree if we have to. Okay, I'm gonna remove my little cutting mat. See, did you hear that little tacky? Let's trim a tree. I can't help it. You can stop watching if you want, but I gotta trim my tree. I gotta see it. I gotta see it done. I can't help it. All right, let me get my tape up. And now, let's start removing the stabilizer. And got a little bit of that T string right there. There we go. Just give it a little trim. Doo-doo. I just have to see the tree done. Don't you have to see it trimmed? So trim with me. Keep the video on and trim with me. That'll be fun. It's like we're sewing together. All right. Let me get that little snippet right there. Boop. And just a little bit more to pull away. All right, that's good enough. Almost all of it's pulled away. So now, same thing like we did with the house. Get your other placement guide out for your trees. There we go. Let's line this little guy up. So I just start at the tippy top, work my way. There we go. And again, look at that. My tape stayed on. So I'm just kind of taping it in place on my block. That's one thing I like about this 3M tape. You can tape on your paper and it doesn't tear it. Or I haven't had it tear. I guess it could. So now, same thing. Line your ruler lines up nicely. And get your little pin out. I don't cut now because I don't want to cut my pattern, right? I want to keep that. That's why if you're like, hey, why don't you just cut now? That's why. I want to preserve my pattern. And I'm sure you do too. And line up down here. Whoop. There we go. Oh, I need to come up just a smidge. Make sure my lines are good. All right. Right across. Now let's do these. And sorry, y'all are gonna see my head. It's coming in. Perfect. Boop. Doot, doot, doot. And a little bit more. Sorry, here's my head again. How did I do the gnome house without getting my head in? I don't know. Hope my hair is not too gray today. I am getting a little bit of gray, y'all. Can't help it. Do y'all want to know the worst thing ever? Well, it's not. Okay, let me put that in perspective. I'm exaggerating. It's not the worst thing ever. There's a lot of worse things. But I have 2 gray eyebrow hairs. And they're like ones I can't pluck out because then I'll have like a hole in my eyebrow. So I think I'm gonna have to like learn how, I don't know, I guess my hairstylist is gonna have to start dyeing my eyebrows. I don't know. We're gonna see how this is gonna go. I'll keep you updated with the drama of my eyebrow. Okay, so my little tree's ready to trim. Your tree should be ready to trim too. Get this out of the way. Put my favorite little cutting mat back in place. Isn't this cool? I mean, I love my Olfa cutting mat, don't get me wrong. But this little setup just is rocking my world. We have these on our website, of course, if you need them. They're just awesome. And they ship for free. We've incorporated the shipping in the price, so we subsidize the shipping. It's not 100% free shipping, but it's subsidized in the price already. Because they are kind of heavy to ship, I must say. So we kind of met in the middle with y'all with the shipping. All right, and now do this line right here. It's so, like, when you trim your block, like even after it's stitched, it comes to life, right? And then you trim it and it comes to even more life. So that's why, like I said at the beginning, I wasn't gonna trim my trees because y'all know how to trim your trees, but I wanted to see it. So I figured, let's do it together. Look at that. Look at that cutie. All right, and line my little line up. Doot, doot, doot. Oh my goodness. One more cut. And then we get to see it. There we go. And yeah, I'm doing 2 little cuts because again, my blade needs some fixing. Just like, you know, I change my needles a lot on my machine. It keeps my thread happy, keeps my machine happy. My stitches always look great. I need to do that more religiously with my, or more frequently, I should say, with my rotary blade. I always wait till it's like too late and it's skipping a stitch or cut. Okay, look at that little tree. Look at this house and this tree. Oh my goodness. Okay, so all you have to do is trim your last naked tree. And so then you'll have all 3 blocks done. So I hope that you have had so much fun with your box 6 of the Gnome block of the month. And I can't wait for block 7. Month 7 is, what's in month 7? I can't even remember. It's so cute, I know though, because I love every block of this quilt is adorable. So I'll see you next month. Happy stitching.